Alright guys, so today we're going to be looking at a Battlefield Concert build for Alt Luna. Now with Alt Luna being a brand new character, I know a lot of people are wanting to get out there and use her in the field. And while some of her mobbing builds might work well outside of Axion planes, this build actually works well on the planes. The main difference between her last mobbing build and this mobbing build is just how hard she hits and how hard she hits single targets. And both of those things are what slows down most mobbers on the planes. Now having said all of that, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Alright guys, so as always, we're going to go ahead and start out with the weapons. And the main thing we're going to be using on Alt Luna here is a stat stick, but realistically, she's going to be using her own unique weapon, so even your stat stick doesn't matter that much because most of these stats will not transfer over to her unique weapon. So because of that, for me personally, I just went ahead and tossed on the Secret Garden. This is a weapon that does synergize with First Descendant, so you will get a little bit of a bonus out of it, but realistically, you're not going to get that much out of this weapon. So when it comes to the cores on this, the main thing you're going to want to focus on is going to be the 20% sprint speed cores, and even then, those aren't going to transfer over to her unique weapon. So this is only for your neutral game when you do drop out of it. For the roll down bottom, none of this is going to matter, and I'm not even going to go in and show you the mods on the weapon because again, none of it is going to matter with Luna because she's going to be using her own unique weapon. So if you've been following our builds, then you're going to know about our last dagger, and we are going to go ahead and put the last dagger on Ultimate Luna. Now the main reason we're going to put this on her is for specific enemies. Every once in a while there will be enemies that have little halos around their head, and you have to shoot that halo out to even do any damage to them. And unfortunately, Luna's unique weapon does not actually do that. So we're going to go ahead and slap on our last dagger just to take care of those random monsters when they do pop up. So with this last dagger, we're going to go ahead and use our Void Erosion 10 last dagger. So for the cores on this, we're going to go ahead and go with some chill attack, 2 firearm attack, 1 fire rate, and 1 rounds per mag core. And when it comes to the roll down bottom, we're going to build into this weapon strengths. So we're going to be going with firearm critical hit rate and damage, 1 firearm attack, and a little bit of weak point damage. So when it comes to the mods on this, we're going to build into all the same strengths we did with the cores and the rolls. So for that, we're going to build into a little bit of the weapons based damage, a little bit of fire rate. We're going to really ratchet up that critical hit rate and damage, tack on just a little bit more weak point, and then slap on just a tiny bit of chill and finish it off with fire and fiesta. So when it comes to the reactor on her, we're going to go with a non-at tech reactor, and we're going to go ahead and put the optimized condition to be the tac rifle because that's going to be the main weapon that we carry. Now, when it comes to the optimized condition down below, I went ahead and went with skill critical hit damage and non-attribute skill power boost. Now, I want to talk about that non-attribute skill power boost for just a quick second. The reactor I have on here is actually not the most optimized and not the one that I actually want. The one I want, we would swap out that non-at or something like a tech skill power boost ratio just to ratchet our damage up even more. Now the other thing I want to discuss is with this entire build, we're only sitting at about a 60% crit hit rate for Ultimate Luna, which is actually considerably lower than what I would typically do for a critical hit descendant. So if you want, you can always consider putting critical hit rate and damage on your reactor if that's something that you want to hunt for and see how it feels for you. So when it comes to the components on Luna, we're going to use the Enlightened Mage set. I do really like this because it is going to ratchet her damage up a ton, and we're not really using weapons, so we don't really care about the nerf to the weapon damage that we're getting from this. Also, you will be spamming Luna's skills pretty frequently, so it's going to be very easy to stay at that 3 max stack almost the entire time you're using her. When it comes to the rolls and the cores on this, I would definitely get exactly what you see I have. This is going to help you out with survivability, and it's going to help you out with MP and MP recovery, which is something that she is going to be using a lot just because of our play style. We're really going to spam a lot of her shots, and that is going to burn through your MP, but we have a couple other ways to offset it. So for our inversion reinforcement, the first one we're going to be looking at is going to be focus boost. This is just going to be something to help get that skill cost down just a little bit. That way when you miss your notes, it doesn't burn through your MP quite as fast. Now, the second one we're going to be looking at using is going to be deploy resonant device. And the reason we like this is because it is going to give us just a little bit more skill duration, which is going to make her skills and her buffs, as well as debuffs, last just a little bit longer. And the last one we're going to be using is selective neurostimulation, and we like this just because it is going to give us a shot in the arm of MP every once in a while, which is also going to help with the MP deficiencies that you will run into with this build. So when it comes to our Arche tuning board, this is what we're going to be looking at. We really want to go ahead and pick up a bunch of skill power on this, and we actually kind of need the skill critical hit rate off of this board to make Luna's critical hits feel just a little bit better and get her rate up just a little bit more. So in doing that, we kind of don't have a lot of other places to go, so we are going to go to the upper right and pick up the mutated cell up there. Now when it comes to the mutated cells, we are going to go ahead and use Arche maximization, which is a brand new mutated cell. What this is going to do is every time we inflict a debuff on a target, we're going to get Arche maximization, and once we stack this out, we're going to get up to 33-35% additional critical hit rate, and this is multiplicative and not additive. It's not insanely good, but it is something, and it's going to help get her critical hit up just a little bit more. So for the puppers on this build, we're actually going to go ahead and use the new Husky. The reason we're using this is, again, just for a little bit of MP boost. This isn't an insane amount, but every little bit's going to help when you play Luna, and you will see that in the gameplay. Alright, so when it comes to the mods for the build, this is actually what we're going to be looking at. And this build is something that I've kind of put together in a way that gives you a little bit of forgiveness, but still gives you a lot of damage. So when it comes to critical hit descendants, you're always going to need about 6 damage mods. You're going to need skill insight, you're going to need skill concentration, you're going to need emergency measures and frontline, and then you're still going to need your battle and your attack mod. Now with the way Luna works, you're not realistically ever going to have to worry too much about your skills going on cooldown. So because of that, for our attack mod, we're going to use skill simplification, even though that's going to put our skills on a little bit more of a cooldown, if and when you do miss them. Now, in an ideal world, you're not going to miss your skills, so this isn't a huge deal. But every once in a while, something will happen and you will miss one of your skills. And because of that, I actually left the battle mod to be power increase, instead of making it one that gave you even more skill cooldown. So outside of that, we're going to slap on 2 duration mods and 1 range mod. Now the last mod we're going to put on here is actually MP Collector, and we're using MP Collector instead of something like Decimator, is because we actually want to be able to spam our skills non-stop, and this is going to let us do that. So the offset here is we're not gaining as much damage per hit, but because of that, we're going to be able to hit non-stop, which is increasing our DPS output all across the board. And then last but not least, we're actually going to go ahead and look at the trigger mod. And for this, we're going to be using gap in time. And the main reason is we're not putting any cooldown on this build whatsoever. So we should have 100% uptime on gap in time, which is going to make it do just a ton more damage. So what I want to explain really quick is what you should be doing when you play this build. Luna has 3 different skills: Passionate Stage, Intense Stage, and Fan Service. And if you look, each one of these has some type of buff to you and some type of debuff to your enemy. Passionate Stage is going to give you a little bit more critical hit rate, and it's going to reduce the enemy's move speed. Intense Stage is going to establish an explosive range that inflicts debuffs of your skills on enemies within range. And the other thing it's going to do is inflict All Eyes on Me on the enemies, which is going to decrease their defense. And last but not least, we have Fan Service, which is going to give you a skill power increase, and it's going to give an attack decrease on your enemies. Now, as you can see with all 3 of these, they have a duration of about 16 seconds, which is a pretty good duration. And that duration is going to allow us to try to keep our buffs up all the time and keep the debuffs up as much as possible. Now, the last thing we need to look at is what you get for your enhanced skill. So Passionate Stage is going to stun the enemies when you go into it. Intense Stage is going to increase the damage that the enemies take. And Fan Service is going to decrease the amount of damage that the enemies do. So for me personally, I like the bonuses of Intense Stage. So that is typically what I try to pop when I do my enhanced skill. At the end of the day, figure out which one of these works best for your playstyle. But again, that's the one that I personally like. So the way I like to play this is once I start up my unique weapon, we try to stack up all the buffs and debuffs on the enemies right up front. So in order to do this, go ahead and pop your 2, shoot the enemies a couple times, and then pop your 3, shoot the enemies a couple times, and then pop your 4 and shoot the enemies a couple times. If you've done that, you've got all the debuffs on the enemies and all the buffs on you. Now this will last for 16 seconds, so I personally like to stay on my 4 because it targets more enemies. Now while this is up and running, go ahead and just spam shoot and don't even worry about timing. We've got MP Collector on here, and this is going to help offset the MP that we're losing while spamming our trigger. Now in the test arena, you're not going to get your MP back, but we're not too worried about that. Once we have everything up and running, we're going to go ahead and pop our 3. We're going to get our enhanced skill off, and we're just going to go hard on the enemies. Now don't forget, while we have our enhanced skill up, the note hitting does not matter. So do not worry about the rhythm, but while your enhanced skill is up, go ahead and try to refresh all of your buffs. And then go back to your 4 and start shooting as many enemies as you can. Now, if you do this properly, you will keep all of your buffs up and all of the enemies' debuffs up as well. After you get all of the buffs and debuffs refreshed, just stay on your 4 and spam shoot and keep doing as much damage as you can. Now, if you do this properly, you'll actually be able to refresh all of your buffs during that spam period. And then outside of that spam period, just go ahead and keep spamming your regular trigger shots while you're on your 4 and don't really worry about much else. It is not guaranteed when you hit a note to give you inspiration gauge, but there is a chance it will happen. And more than likely, you will fill up your inspiration gauge while spamming shots before your buffs and debuffs run out. Also, because you have MP collector, as you're killing enemies, you will just refill your MP. Then after you're done with that, it is very much a rinse and repeat. And honestly, Luna is one of the few Descendants where it does not change when it comes to bossing. Just make sure that when you're doing the boss, when you use your enhanced skill, you do pop your 3 to lower the defense. And then other than that, just spam your skills and keep your buffs up and the enemy's debuffs up as well. Alright guys, and that's it. That's everything you need to know about playing the new Ultimate Luna with her new mobbing build. Now, I do really like this build, and I do think it is much more forgiving than some of her other builds. The only downside is you cannot mob as many enemies with this build as you could with some of her other builds, but because of the amount of damage you do, this is much more viable and high tier content, so I would very much suggest you build it and give it a try. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content, and if you did, consider liking and subscribing for more First Descendant content, as well as other game coverage in the future. We do plan on playing a ton of games, and we would love to have you guys check out all of our gaming content moving forward. And if you want to get to know me and the community just a little bit more, consider watching us live either here on YouTube or over on Twitch. We do stream 5 days a week and would absolutely love to get to know you. But guys, having said all that, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.